Good evening. Just starting up the Gelvin Valley map again. And I remember this last night. The old combine's having trouble. Stuck on a fence post. We'll try to help him out. There. Hopefully he can make it from here. Ooh, that's probably not going to work. Oh, I guess there's no collision on the pipe. I've been trying to work with this combine a little bit. It's supposed to level to 100%, or it has been. And in the last video, what we could see is in these leveling cylinders, they had some air under them. But now, well, it isn't super steep. I can't really tell if it's leveled all the way or not. Oh, there he's fighting with the edge again. Let's see here, we'll try to get it around. Yeah, it doesn't know what it wants to do. Always a little ticklish on the outer. Oh, and it's also full. Alright, we'll remedy that. Most of the time when I play, I don't know how other guys are, but I know just enough about modding to be dangerous. So if something isn't working or going right, I don't know. There's sometimes there'll be times when I'm in and out of the game 50 times it feels like. So I'd really like to have this combine working right. So I experimented with one other thing to limit how far it's able to level. Because obviously we don't have enough cylinder for it to fully level all the way. But I might just have to take another round to see how much room there truly is. Let me pull in the pipe and give this another go. Alright, let's see if we can do it from here. Just a little on the corner, but oh well. Yeah, there he's fighting with the fence again. You know, I think the Giants improved the hired help a little bit in later versions of the game, but in some of these, with FS15, these guys really, they're not worth what you pay them half the time, it doesn't feel like. But I'm sure when I was on the farm, I don't know that I was always worth what I was paid either. The amount of stuff I broke and whatnot. Let me get him out of the way. I kind of like this field. It has a lot of character. Steeper areas of it aren't farmed, as you can kind of see in here. It's left to the trees, and of course the ubiquitous fences all around. It's kind of an interesting shaped field. Like the others, it was totally in grass, and somewhere down the line I plowed it so I could put a arable crop in it. See, that's leveling over. I don't think I see. Yeah, looks like it's hiding in there good. But it isn't really steep yet, so we'll see what it does on the steep ground. The manual that comes with the map probably says it, but most of the fields, I think that's a true statement, most of the fields on this map, when you first get into it, are grass. And, well, now he's tangling with the trees, giving it a kiss. So, let me reorient him. Anyway, most of them are grass. And not only grass, I think it presumes that most of the fields have been grazed. So the only grass that you have is just around the edges, which is kind of scattered, in with some weeds. And then the rest of it is just wide open green. So you can't even mow them, to get any usable hay off of it. If you want to do anything at all, you have to plow it up, rip it out, and replant it. And so this field was the same. Or excuse me, no, not this one. This one I think had grass, but I wanted arable anyhow, so I ended up ripping it out. But that's true of most of the rest of the fields. Another unique feature on here, and I have no idea where Wes got his 3D models, are those rocks. I'm probably I'm probably doing something that shouldn't be done. This is maybe a national park or something, I don't know. But if that's the Stonehenge, I can't imagine someone just tearing the field up around it and combining around it. So like this, with it being kind of an area of public interest. But oh well, I haven't seen any protesters here in games. I'll just keep farming it this way. So yeah, looks like that's working all right. The combine wasn't set up perfectly, but I appreciate whoever put it together, as I think what they did in terms of making it level is they tried to follow the example on some of the wood harvesting equipment, where apparently the operator platform is kept level during the tree cutting operation. So I think they tried to follow the XML coding for it. Basically by forcing the combine to be level at all times. There, you look at it right at this angle, it doesn't appear that it's totally leveling all the way. So that means it's limiting itself to a maximum extent. I'm gonna hop out of the game real quick just to show anybody that's interested kind of where this is. Let me see how hard it is to get out. Aha, there we go. Yeah, that's the XML file. Let me pull it up here. I got a bunch of other gobbledygook up. It's in the moving parts, and this is another language. Not sure what language it is, but I think I came to find out this here, leveled, I must mean level, on the z-axis, which I believe is side to side. I really don't know how this works. Minimum rotation, min rot, max rot. This used to be, I believe it was 70, and it was 110. So I kind of worked on the one side, and I brought this back from 110. I may experiment a little bit more so I can maximize amount of leveling. But basically tweaked it here, and I didn't do much. There is so much work in here on the model, which parts move when. It's remarkable that it all comes together, but these are the areas I've been tweaking to work with to try to get it to work better, so you don't have that phantom um, cylinder kind of in the middle of nowhere. So I think it looks better, even if it doesn't level quite as much as it used to, but that's realistic. Some hills are so steep that even the technology to level the combine doesn't quite get everything level, but it's better than nothing. So it looks like I need to empty this guy. So, you know what, I'm just going to cheat and cut across the crop here. Wouldn't want to do that in real life, but I'll do it here and try to go empty them out. So that's kind of a cool feature on this map. I guess I've kind of hidden it here, where they've got this up here. I remember Eustace Farmer, one of his videos, he had a feature on that up there that was kind of fun. I don't remember which video it was, but always cool to have features like that in maps that makes them stand out. And I'm fighting with a fence here. This is gonna fill me up, I think. And I don't think I have a course here either. What are we, field 43? Nope, just the outline that I used once upon a time to do the plowing. So I'm trying to remember, is this guy hired? Yep, it is. So I'm gonna get out of his way. That's probably what the deal is. And get out of the fence too. Get on around. And haul this off. And I am so far in the hole, I think I probably will just take this to market maybe. Versus storage. It makes sense, kind of coming out of this field. Here's another entrance you can kind of see on the little map. Some of the dirt roads. That one's pretty cool. It goes down through the brush and kind of comes out a different way. But actually, you know what? I think I'm going to make the course go out of there. Most of the field is kind of up in this big portion up here. I've noticed with course play sometimes it gets confused following the edges of the field. I think that's something that the developers really improved in later versions, but in this earlier version it sometimes gets a little befuddled. So I'm going to do like I've done before. You can hold your nose and suspend realism for a little bit. I'm going to start it out here so it can have a straight course for the first two. I don't know if that's enough. It might be. I'll just start in here. Get it going. We're going to head down the hill. See if we can make course play work even with a narrow gate. I'm going to go and cab. Boy, this may not have been enough. We'll have to see. Love hearing the birds and the ambient sounds. So yeah, it's kind of a little shortcut. Don't think I'd want to take the combine down through there. Have to give it a new paint job. Probably wouldn't make it through this fence either. I'm gonna go sell this. They put in a horse ranch of sorts on the map, which is kind of cool. That's another thing that progressed kind of with the game. Each time there was added a few more animated animals. And I remember working with a dog, I think. I think he has that dog on this map that has an animated head, and it's a little ticklish to get some of those things installed. But he put not only that in here, but several horses as well. Oop, I'm just beating the car. Hopefully the car isn't there all the time. Once again, I'm heading over here to pheasant pluckers. This is one of those maps. You almost need to have a printed map sitting in front of you so you can tell where you're going. I used to do that when I played. I'd literally print it to paper so I could have something in front of me. I guess I'm too old school. I still don't trust the GPS in my car, hardly. In terms of giving me directions, I always like putting it on paper. There's just so many roads, I'm slowly committing them to memory, but here we are. Just remember where everything is. Yeah, these pheasant pluckers up here, they use a lot of grain. And we'll take the peanuts they give us. Well, look at that. I don't even know if 2,000 bucks, yeah, 1,980 came off. Woohoo! Rolling in the cash. Now I'm just going to head on back and get the course saved and try to keep the combine happy. I think in the last video I mentioned all the signs that he has on here. That includes all the real estate signs too. You walk into a field, and I think on each one it tells you the field number, the price, uh, maybe it's a total price or price per acre. I forget which. Oops, that probably was not a good move, but it's course play. I had to keep going, right? Just a boatload of work Wes did on this to make this outstanding map. There's a walking trail. Looks like a little park down there. If you get tired of farming, you can go camping. I think I've seen some YouTube videos where they do that. They do all sorts of things other than farming. I guess I don't totally get that. I don't know why you'd play a farming game not to ever do any farming on it, but what do I know? Each to their own. I think there's a sell point over here, maybe even for some grain. Oh, look at that, the door stayed open. The gate, rather. Head back up through the brush to the hill. Go up the bumpy road. Really curious to see if horseplay behaves. Oh yeah, we got our 2 dots up there. We'll get out into the field. There we go. Forget what I've been naming these. I've never really used the folder feature in here. I just end up with a boatload of courses that I gotta sift through each time. Anyway, field number first, that'd be 43, combi to pheasant. Whatever it takes to remember it. 43, combi to pheasant. Alright, I'll set them up. I'll go find the combine. And looks like it's ready to go, and oh boy, he's probably going to tangle with those rocks up there. I've been off and on working on a... Oh yeah, he's headed for the fence, isn't he? Oh, will he turn? Nope, he's dumb as a doornail. Alright, we'll help him out. Evidently, he needs a map. Just like I needed a map. But looking at those rocks makes me think of a mod I've been working on here of late, and it's one for dynamite. When I worked on the farm, this is on Lone Oak years ago, you know, there was rocks everywhere. I think I mentioned I grew up on a rock pile, and they had a rock pile up there. We picked up a lot of rocks. Big ones, little ones, everything in between. Some were so big, they were immovable. You know, it's like they were attached to the core of the earth itself. You just kind of farmed around them. Others, you could kind of get some idea. Oh, now the combine driver is wandering into the brush, or attempting. Let's get him redirected. But there were some rocks, you know, that weren't so large, but were still large enough that they needed some extra help to get out of the ground. So those we many times would drill and shoot with dynamite and some nitroprills. I mean, to put that in. And so, I mean, there'd be several days, you know, a lot of this just happened, you know, over a period of several weeks before the planting would happen, before, you know, the seed would get in the soil, a lot of the groundwork happening while there'd be a lot of rock picked up. That's when we dealt with it. And so we'd head out there with this massive air compressor on a drill. One of those that just, boy, after about 5 minutes, your hands are numb, and And I don't think we wore much ear protection in those days, so my hearing is probably still impaired. But yeah, you go to town with a drill on a rock and drill a hole in it just big enough to slip a stick of dynamite in, and all day long, drill, drill, drill all these rocks and areas, wherever dynamite was needed. And that wasn't the fun part, obviously. The fun part was coming in with the dynamite and being there when, you blow the rocks up. And my uncle's always said the goal, not always achieved, was to so blow up the rocks into little pieces that you didn't have to pick them up. Well, that didn't always get achieved, so there'd be all these hunks we'd have to chase and pick up, and it would be sharp by then. And so there turns out, I mean, be just a lot of work. In later years, more recently, I think maybe now they might have an excavator. They've had one in. They'll just dig them out a lot of times, and many times it's more efficient than drilling and blowing them up and then picking up all the pieces. So, but it was a lot of fun back in the day to do that, and dangerous, but a lot of fun to do that, and something not everybody gets to do. One of them had a license to do it. I have no idea if they still got a name, but I'm trying to make a mod. Just from remembering those times, a dynamite mod to uh, blow things up. I started on it in FS17. I never really finished it, and kind of on a whim, I've kind of gotten back into these FS15 maps, and so a lot of the mods that I enjoyed in 17, I've tried to bring some of them back into 15, and one of those was Dynamite, and I made it do some weird things, but really the only thing I wanted to do with it was, blow up rocks, for one, and for two, to occasionally take out a tree stump. And right now I'm trying to get the blasted thing to take out a tree stump, and it's not fully cooperating. It'll knock a tree down, but it makes a stump disappear, but I want to see the stump on the ground, so I'm still kind of working on that part. Seeing those rocks at the top of the hill made me think of it. I don't think, I mean, I have dynamite loaded right now as a mod. I could pull it out and go take it over there, but it wouldn't touch those rocks. It's got to be a certain type of object before it'll do it. And here we kiss the fence again. Our drivers really like the fence. They have an affinity for it. Actually, he's full, right? So I'm gonna see if I can send him on his way. Yeah, drive now. No, 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 no. Not to the fence. I know you're confused. I don't know if I could just get him beyond the combine a little bit so we can think straight. Well, yeah, let's come up here and hit these rocks. Yeah, let's just drive to them just like a magnet. There must be some magnetic power of the Stonehenge in it. Yeah, just a tractor magnet. Probably trying to get to the course over here. Maybe I need to set up a different one, put it at a different point in the field. That's some of the art of working with course play. It's like, where do you put stuff? Ah, you silly guy. Yeah, this is maybe a problem of coming out in an area that's so narrow. Ah, goodness. Come on, I think you can figure it out. There. Here, we'll see if this works. Yeah, with course play, sometimes the way you set things up can just have a huge difference as to whether or not it's going to even work. But I like that little trail through the woods. makes for a lot of memories. I know on the farm I worked on, they had a lot of irregularly shaped fields. There were pastures you had to go through to get from one to the other, areas of woodlands. So even just that short little stretch that it drove through right there, that brings back some memories. I know there's a reason why I mess around with this game. Makes me think of time in my life I really enjoyed working on the farm, and when I didn't have any responsibilities but could go and just work and feel good about it. I was with family. We all got along for the most part, and it was a good time. So maybe that's why I play this. And we need some money bad. Back up over 34,000 in debt. I'm probably getting killed by interest. I will watch out. I'm probably going to spill my drink. That wouldn't be good. Look at those deep ditches. There's been a few YouTubers that have taken on this map. I've enjoyed looking at their videos. And every single one of them, Wes included, occasionally has tangled with those deep ditches. I think I even put a mod in here. Let me see if I can find it. It's in case you get stuck. Where would it be? There we go. Chain. Gotta have an avenue to get back out in case you fall in the ditch. Which so far hasn't happened. I've always been able to get back out on my own. It probably will happen. As I look down at this, I'm looking at the damage. Oh, every time he beats his noggin into a fence or something because he can't get around, it just adds damage, which costs more money. It was really bad when I first started up. I liked the idea of forcing the farmer to make repairs. That's something you got to do in real life. There might even be something in it. I don't fully know them just yet. I think there may even be a feature in it, change you oil, that kind of thing, which would be kind of cool. But I do love the concept that you have to do some repairs. I mean, that's just reality. But it's so bad. I mean, here the tractor's just used for a little bit and it's a quarter damaged, from hitting the fence. So sometimes I'll pay for the repairs, and there's other times, because I'm messing about with it, modding wise and whatnot, I'll just tweak some values and save game file, to kind of undo some of the damage. And yeah, maybe that's cheating. I don't know. But I also don't care. I must not have driven very straight on here. And I think if it's damaged enough, eventually, the way they force you to get repairs is I don't think you can drive full speed. This should be able to go 32 miles an hour. I don't know if there's a flat area you can get totally up to speed. But yeah, at some point you just go so slow, you're forced to take it to the shop. Well, this one here doesn't have a shop. I think it's some versions you can install a shop on the... Oh, looks like our combine stopped. I just noticed. Yeah, well, the combine's trying to damage itself too, it appears. Backing into a tree. That's one thing, fortunately. I never did when I was in my combining days. Never fear, I'm more than made up for it with other bloopers. Oh, looky there. And of course, he would just have to be in the combine driver's way. So, we're going to relocate this rascal. Over to here. I still want to look at this combine and watch it level. Yeah, why do you pick up your header right there? Yeah, that's probably the max extent. Yeah, I'm just really enjoying this machine. On the farm, we had John Deere combines, mainly John Deere equipment, period. You know, the word self-leveling. But it's interesting seeing it on other types of machines. And in the US, by the way, I think there was ever only one combine that would level all four directions, or I say all four, where it would basically level fore and aft and side to side. This one here does it all four, so you'll see going up a hill, of course. Oh, our silly driver. No, you don't need to hit the fence. The combine's over here, in case you didn't know. And I may be in the guy's way. Whoop. There we go. No, I don't see why you need to drive over there. What in the world? Yeah, course play is a gem. But hey, mad respect to the coding it takes and the talent it takes to put together code to do this. I sure couldn't do it. And that's coming in a little tight. That's a good way to change a paint color. And not a... we would call that a career-limiting move. Get that up close and personal with a combine. But he's trying. In the old days, you know, I know it's common nowadays to have a chaser follow the combines. It's much more efficient to keep the combines running in the field and always doing what they do. For whatever reason, the farm that I worked on, now you don't need to come up the combine's tailpipe. Not that it has a tailpipe. There we go. Get alongside it. But yeah, in the old days, we just had the combines drive over to the trucks parked by the edge of the field, and they would offload and just take their time doing it. For whatever reason, I don't know why, but nowadays, I know on Lone Oak they've switched to the chaser bin setup so the combines can continually be in the crop doing what they do and have it be a little bit more efficient offloading. But on the self-leveling, I think there was only one combine ever made in the US that would level forward and backwards and side to side. I think it was an international, was it a 403? I can't remember the model number, but I'm pretty sure it was international. Otherwise, the only self-leveling that combines have ever done has just been side to side, and I think today that's primarily all you're gonna see. Um, Maybe somebody occasionally imports a European combine. For whatever reason, over in Europe, they've had more use for, like this one here. I think it's common you'll see in pictures, where they use self-leveling. A lot of it's on the forward and back part. So maybe it's just how some of their fields tend to be designed, or their property rather. I really don't know. Um, I've always just loved the concept of the self-leveling, and maybe because I live in a region of the country that has a lot of hills, so you don't know what you don't know, and a lot of times we have some family in the Midwest. They they were clueless, on what a self-leveling combine was, because they happen to have plenty of flat ground, and there was no need for them to have that on their combines or whatever. So it was kind of something unique for them to see, but it costs a boatload of money anymore to put this kind of thing on the combine, and there's companies in the area. I'm trying to remember what their names are. Years ago, I think there's one called Rocco or Rayco, um, and now the name of the company kind of slips my. Hilco, that's what it is. So you get a conventional combine, and you buy a kit from Hilco, and there's a couple different kits. One with very little work, you bolt it into the machine and do a little bit of work, and you can get, I don't know, 17% leveling ability. The other one I think will go over 30, and it still isn't quite as good as the good old days, where they would have a combine. I know, oh, one of them that we had on the farm, I think it would level to about 45%, so it could really handle some steep hills. But they're very expensive. For whatever reason, they don't put these kits on at the factory, so it's kind of an aftermarket sort of deal. But it can really help, especially when you have a conventional thresher. I think most combines, right under the back here. This, you can't really see it. I really don't know much about this combine. Ordinarily, you'd look under here and you'd see straw walkers moving, kind of up in the back end part where the straw walks out of the machine. And then down below it, which they don't really have on this machine, at least, or maybe it's in a, there it is, inside there's a straw coming out, and then just a little bit in front of it. That must be where the chaff is handled, the grain shoe. It's critical to keep that as level as you can, so you can maximize the capacity of the machine. And I remember seeing that, if you have a flatland machine and you're going up a hill or across the side, if you're going downhill, I mean, you got all sorts of crud coming into your tank. It keeps everything because it's so steep, and it isn't able to kick it out the back. But if you're going uphill, if it's really, really steep, I mean, a lot of times that just flies right out the back of the combine, and it doesn't leave you anything. So it's really important to have it as level as you can. And our tractor's tangling with the fence again. But I am liking this. It's leveled as max as it can and isn't totally leveled. So I think we're fixing that little anomaly that we had, making it a little bit more realistic, which is helpful. Let's see if we can go find. Oh, he must have got tired of the fence. Maybe it is possible. You know, another thing you probably noticed is the header on this combine. You know, this is a New Holland combine, but the header is, oh, I don't even know how to pronounce this. At Sampo Rosenlu. It's the smallest header that's in the game. So I kind of chose to use that on the combine, but you look at it here and it doesn't even fit the wheelbase. You'd always be running over some of the crop, kind of with this arrangement. But the next size up, oh, the tractor stuck again. The next size up was just a little bit too wide. I couldn't even get it in the gates. So the next size up, I think, happened to be for New Holland too. So really would look better. But like I say, just a wee bit too big. Oh, come on, you're... Well, are you full? Oh, I guess you're not full. I'll be jiggered. Well, let's get you a little more then. Anyway, I've periodically looked for a different header that maybe would work a little better for this, and it's also yellow to color coded and all that jazz. But for now, this little orange one will work, and I suppose it's good enough to suspend reality. The roads are narrow, the gates are narrow. This combine is well suited to be used in a place like this. Maybe I got just enough. If I could sneak up, I could go finish filling. I'm gonna find out I'm not much of a better driver. Hey, combine, what are you doing? Alright, I'm full. I'm not much of a better driver than the hired help. Alright, let me turn him loose. Oh yeah, swing wide just like you did last time, but hey, fine. You can lead a horse to water, but can't make him drink. I think there's a certain note or something Courseplay looks for. Maybe it's this second one that it shoots for. It always seems to kind of circle around it. There, it's looking ahead. This is just great. Yeah, I really wish the app would have made it later versions of the game, but that happens. I'm basically making these videos in case Wes ever wants to see them, as well as to test a few things out on my end. Not that I'm going to become a YouTuber, I'm just kind of having a kick at doing this a little bit. See if I can on this bucket of bolts of a computer I have. It definitely would be nice if it came to more recent versions of the game. Can't imagine it would make it look even better than it currently does, but it might. Continue to be amazed at how he's put this together. Yeah, of course looks okay, just sure seems like he's driving all over the road every now and again. pheasant pluckers. By the way, I don't know whoever will see this. At the top of the screen, there's kind of a weird looking bar. I mean, over at the upper left hand corner, I got the glance mod in here, so you know it's going to tell me about this tractor trailer combination hauling grain. It's going to tell me about the combine in the field, how full it is, and all that jazz. That's not what I'm talking about. There's Oh, now there isn't. That bar disappeared. Well, look at that. Oh, there it came back briefly. I don't know if it's just I don't have, or back to my bucket of bolts or whatever it is, computer, but that bar up there, it's like the refresh on the screen, and maybe it's my monitor? I just don't know. All I know is that that bar sits up there and it looks funny half the time. But I know it only seems to happen when I'm recording. So, who knows what it is. We'll just pretend it's not there. And he is weaving all over the road like a drunk. Good grief. Getting dizzy. But it's smooth coming down through there. Yeah, I don't know why it isn't smooth driving, but oh well. As long as it gets the job done. Most of the time I don't like seeing the course waypoints. Usually like seeing where it starts and ends. Oh, it's kind of helpful. You know, I mentioned this was a sell point. Let me go look at that real quick. I don't know what it's called. See if I can find it in here. I don't know if they take wheat. Farm shop. Is it livestock? No. Pheasant pluckers. That's where we've been taking it. Ah, stables. Man, it's too bad I don't have some barley. That's a double the price with that great demand. Bummer, bummer. I planted every field in wheat and the price is already going back down. Just my luck. I guess I got a little barley in storage, but that sure isn't going to amount to much. But at AA stables, they only take barley anyhow, and corn, sugar beet, they don't take any wheat, so out of luck. Yeah, just love it that on here the gates magically open and shut for you no matter where you go. Sure wish they'd do that in real life. And when you're just the hired hand, guess what we gotta do a lot of? I know I commented on this last time. I'm still just amazed at how good that edge looks over there. Even though it drops off into nothing, you just placed the border part very well and with a few trees. I mean, because you kind of know as steep as this is, and there's deep ravines, you kind of almost expect to see visually another ravine, and so your eyes kind of get tricked just looking over there. It's like, oh, the map must continue, and it's just a really steep drop off. Well, it is indeed steep, but much more than the eye admits. Look at the combine again. Yeah, you'll see this combine, it levels a little bit coming downhill, but not nearly as much as when it's going uphill. It kind of sits down on its haunches. But you look at the rear here, and there's just not enough room on those cylinders for it to sit down by too much. But kind of as you see it go uphill here, it moves quite a bit more. And I think you notice that in real life too. So I guess that means if you want to keep it level, you should try to combine uphill versus downhill as much as you could. Yeah, that kind of bugs me right there too. Seeing the straw come out of the back end. It's good, it comes out where it does. But then it quits, and there's this big old blank area. It'd be nice if it went, all the way to the ground. There's probably a way to do it. I just need to figure out how. In the front of the combines, just behind the reel, is the feeder housing. That's the what holds the header onto the machine. The augers take the material to the center, like you can see, and then it feeds it right into the feeder housing. A lot of times there's paddles in there or something to shoosh along the crop to get it up to just past where the driver's seat is. There's what's called a cylinder in there where all the grain is threshed. Sometimes in the feeder housing it's this chain, and the chain has bars on it and it drags the material up. I mean, there's any number of ways to move material. I'm just looking at it here and noticing I think there might be parts in there, and I don't see them moving. That's something else that could be fixed. Oh, well, we're kissing the rocks. Alright. We have very friendly equipment. What can I say? Back up just to get that little sprig. Higher and send him on his merry way. Please stay away from the rocks. Yeah, it is so narrow. What are you doing? Yeah, it's tangled with the dirt. I don't know what the deal is. Well, it just had to touch a rock. Me. I don't know if it's going to tangle with that rock at the end or not. Nope, just passed by. Maybe it'll back right into it. Oh yeah. Or back through it. Well, maybe try to help it out. On the farm, when combining or doing field work, sometimes there would be obstacles in the field. A lot of the fields that I worked on the farm. This isn't moving my camera. Go inside. There we go. We tried to keep the fields clear of obstacles as much as we could. You look at a field like here and there's all these trees around the edges. Well, trees are just begging a combine coming around. If the operator forgets to pull in the unloading auger, it's just begging for it to be bent around a tree or something. So we really tried to be careful with that, but there's all kinds of obstacles from time to time, whether it's a rock pile. In the old days, the old timers didn't have much in the way of equipment. When the land was originally cleared and logged, they did a lot of work, but sometimes it was all they could do to move rocks out of the way just a little bit, so they put them in these piles. And years and years and years later, those same piles would still be there, and I remember we were in the process of trying to clean them up over time. But it wasn't a good thing to tangle with them. The rock piles are probably the worst, because, well, look at that. The affection he has for the fence is just remarkable. I would think he wouldn't be having trouble with this anymore. I mean, there's plenty of space here. Who knows? But yeah, the rock piles were tough. The farm that I worked on was a grass seed farm, and we would, before combining, we would windrow the grass, kind of lay it out so it could dry for a week and a half, maybe sometimes 2 weeks, and then we would bring in the combines. But during the windrowing process, you got all this grass around you, it's hard to see the ground, and you'd go around these rock piles, and you never knew what was just laying underneath, and hopefully you were quick-witted enough, you could see it coming if there was rocks kind of around the pile, so you didn't run the windrower into it and break all its teeth off. Well, not all its teeth, but break several, and then of course you'd have to stop and fix it, which always made the boss happy. In FS17, I think it was a German group, I forget the name of the group, that they worked on a Kloss combine and made it able to harvest grass seed. As the Lone Oak map was being developed, I worked on that mod quite a bit further. I made it so you could do it with other combines, not just the Kloss combine. I never released it though. I just used it on my own. It was kind of fun. I put in some real grass seed for the seed when you dumped it in the tank. I think the German group, they used wheat maybe? I don't know. It didn't look realistic enough. The part I've never been able to duplicate though is field burning. That was probably my favorite thing working on the farm. They regulated it pretty heavily, but it was just kind of, and straw has value now to where they wouldn't want to just burn it. But in the old days, as you combine it, you would spread the straw over the field, and when the day came that you could get rid of the straw, you'd basically light a match and you'd torch the field. And there was more to it than that. I mean, there's a science behind it to do it right with, the wind currents and what have you, to make sure it doesn't get out of control and what have you. But I always love burning fields. Send up a huge plume of smoke, so wasn't the best for the environment maybe, but it's kind of a dual-edged sword with a lot of that. It would put a lot of smoke in the air, but there's a lot of grass. By burning it, you were able to prevent certain diseases. You were able to kill off certain pests that if you didn't do that, it would take a whole lot more chemical to keep the crop healthy. And there were some areas that were so steep, you could plant grass on it and burn it, and you could keep it healthy enough that you could keep it planted on the hillside and you didn't have to rip it out. And every time you ripped a field out, you're always fighting with erosion and loss of your topsoil and some of those kinds of things. So yeah, it's always a dual-edged sword. It would maybe harm the environment in one way by burning it, but it was helpful in other ways for the farmer. So I kind of miss those days. I don't know if they do a lot of burning anymore, but that was one thing I haven't been able to duplicate modding wise. I know there's a fire mod out there, like a placeable fire mod, and maybe it even has a trigger on it so you can put water into it and eventually put the thing out. I don't know, I haven't experimented with it enough. But to get it to burn a field and turn it black, that part haven't been able to do. I'm sure someone out there smart enough could do it, but that's not me at the moment. Birds always seem happy through here. Maybe my trailer has a leak in it and it's dropping wheat for them to eat. And what's our combine doing? Just sitting there on its heels. Oh. Well. It appears to be enjoying the company of this rock. Yeah. Oop! Not as bad as I hired help. I have a feeling that the map author didn't intend for this particular field or some of the others to be turned into arable fields. Probably intended them to stay grass. Because I see those weed patches, in real life, the combine coming through there would just nip those things off and cut them off, and that'd go into the combine along with everything else. But based on how the game works, it just doesn't take them off. So, which is okay. I play mainly out of cab anyway, so you gotta just see that over there. It's like, oh yeah, there's weeds in this field. But when we till it up after harvest, they stay right there, just solid. Can't do anything to harm them, can't spray them out, nothing. If you have it in grass, if you leave it that way, it's just a little less noticeable. So that's why I say Wes may never have intended that these be treated as arable farming back in here. But desperate times, desperate measures. Last time he went straight downhill into the fence, and he's doing it again. Wow. There truly is no end to the level of intelligence of our drivers. Yeah, it's like the Gelvin Valley map is a valley within a valley. The whole map is surrounded by these higher hills. And I still like how the only place where maybe you could see, okay, see, that makes it a little harder to suspend reality. Just don't know how you fix it entirely. You look clear off into the distance and you can tell the map has a hard edge. You know, the hill goes up and then it curves down and then boom, it's done. But if you don't see that and you're just looking this way, that's pretty good. Some of these hills in here remind me of, well, not only our local area, though we don't tend to have hills this steep. Depends on where it is, but in my opinion, one of the most beautiful areas of the world for growing wheat is in eastern Washington state of the U.S. in a region called the Palouse. There's a town that goes by that name, but I think they kind of refer to the whole region as the Palouse. It's primarily eastern Washington, far eastern, and it also takes up a portion of Idaho just next door. I'm not sure how far into Idaho it goes. I guess many moons ago there was a lot of water that was moved, and it made these deposits in it's a really interesting. I don't have any pictures. I can't put it up um, at the moment, or I don't even know how. But it's just a beautiful area. And when it's green in the spring or in fall during harvest, it literally looks like an ocean of wheat. You know, if you're out on a boat on the ocean and you see all the waves around, you can just picture that, only it's fields of wheat, just these undulating hills. And I don't know, it's just aesthetically pleasing to me. I've been there a couple times. I got a friend who's a wheat farmer in the area, and he's been kind enough to let me come up during harvest and at some other times to take some pictures and enjoy the scene. They don't have any combines at level like this. They only had the ones that went side to side, and you know, it's been a few years since I've been there. I have no idea what they have now. But their hills are so steep. that even with the old school leveling technology, the best of which I ever heard of was, a combine that could level 48% side to side. I think some of the internationals did that, or case internationals. There are areas, where the grade on those hills is so steep. It's 60%. And there's some wild stories that I've heard. That I wish I could see them with my own eyes, but I've just heard that some of these are so steep, and you think, how would the farmer be so desperate that they have to go to such extremes? But what some of these have done is they'll have a hill that's so steep that even though they're combine levels, self levels, it literally cannot stay on the hill because it's so steep. It just slides side to side, which can be a pretty freaky thing if you're the operator and you feel your whole machine turning sideways or going backwards, and there isn't anything you can do to control it. Well, I mean, there is, but takes experience to kind of know how to do it. But some of these are so steep it doesn't matter. You will slide. So what some of these guys do, a lot of them, they don't even have conventional tractors to work the hills. They use dozers, modified dozers of some kind, a lot of Caterpillars and other uh, tractors and what have you. They will put them at the top of the hill. They will use chains, ropes, whatever to hold onto their combine while it's harvesting across the hill. And that's the only way they're able to keep the combine from sliding off the hill. Sounds incredibly dangerous, but that's the lengths they sometimes go to just to pull together a harvest. Aha, I thought I heard a sound in here. Well, that's interesting. That's kind of a creepy sound I'm hearing in here. Well, I guess it's a stone hedge. Henge, however I say it. That's definitely something, when you're sitting right in the middle of that, you hear something. Huh. Oh, my jiggered. I've never noticed that before. Well, good job, OS. That's one more thing you put in there that I just now noticed. You got a little bit of creepiness going on if you stand in the center of that circle of rocks. I've heard there's some farmers back in the day, if they didn't use chains and equipment at the top of the hill to help hold on to their combines, which sounds incredibly laborious. But other times, if they didn't have that, I've heard of a furrow being plowed on the side of the hill for the tire to sit in of the combine as it went across the hill. Just something, anything to help it grip to the hill. This machine here, you'll see, it's got tractor tires, if you will, on it. On the farm, the hillside machines had diamond tread, they called them, which looked like little diamond shapes on there. I think I've heard that it adheres better to the hill. And I'm not sure why. It seems like the tractor style would adhere better, but maybe the diamond style would hold better both forward and backwards as well as side to side, versus this style here maybe wouldn't hold as well side to side. But I really don't know. This one appears to also have four-wheel drive. The machines we had on the farm, they were hillsides, they didn't have four-wheel drive, but like I mentioned earlier, we were just a grass seed farm, so the grass wasn't nearly as heavy as, like wheat would be. I know I have another friend who farmed in central Oregon, just on the other side of the mountains in the Dalles area, and there's a ton of wheat in there. And some of them, they have really steep hills, and they got to be careful where they choose to have their combine to be full of grain. You know, if they drive down into a real steep area and all of a sudden they find themselves full at the bottom of the hill, their combine may not have enough power to even get back up the hill so that they can unload. So I remember the times I visited him, you just had to be really careful with that. And they also had four-wheel drive, but I think he said the Case Internationals they had were a bit underpowered even with that. So all these quirks you learn as an operator to try to bring the crop in and hopefully keep things going and learning the limits of your machine. Yeah, and shooting with the drive control mod, which I have installed. Maybe the four-wheel drive actually even works on this thing. All pretend anyhow. You know, I'm kind of curious. That appears to be a grain plane in there, but I wonder if that isn't working properly. Because here we are half full. I gotta say that grain tank looks pretty empty. Ah, there, that's a suspension of reality. You can see all the way through the machine here. Kind of curious, what do we see in cab? Can you see it behind it? Oh, well, maybe it's filling up. It stopped because our tractor, once again, our hero, is having issues. The thunk. Let's see if that's good enough. You know, what do you want to go over there for? No, 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 no. Yeah, I'm telling you, these rocks are magnets. Even though this is a dinky combine, given a little time, keeping after it, it gets through it. Off he goes. No, don't turn down there. What are you doing? There you go. Oh, come on, you idiot. Just don't know why it gets confused that way, but it does. So going back to this combine, well, now that it's been, see, we just emptied it, and let me look inside here again. Yeah, look at that. I don't think it's changed level one bit, so maybe this particular machine just hasn't been set up to handle, I don't know what you would call that, grain tank animation. It has some other animation though, which is pretty cool. That's the motor fan on the radiator, I presume. That's kind of neat. But that would be something nice to fix. So I'll maybe take a peek at it. looking at the position of his hand, that is totally off too. It's beneath the steering wheel. Yeah, and of course when you come in cab, you don't even see that. It's only out of cab. So placement of the hands could probably be fixed a little bit. Looks like there's a red lever there for the other hand. I don't know if I've ever messed with the hands. I know I worked on the steering wheel a little bit because it wasn't really turning right. Yeah, it's hard to get a mod all the way done before sending it out into public. That's not a bad way to try to learn a little about it by fixing what someone else worked on or trying to take it a little bit further. And like I said earlier, I'm just grateful there is a Hillside Combine mod available, so yeah, I'll just keep working on it a little bit, I think. I'm looking at something else here. I'm not sure this thing is getting dirty. Everything here is beautiful clean, but then you look at the axle down there. It has dirt all over it. You see the cylinders, they got dirt on them. The feeder housing has dirt. But everything else is clean as a whistle. So it's probably something that can be done about that. I should be writing all these things down. Fix dirt on the combine. Let's see, fix grain tank animation. Or no, excuse me. Grain tank build plane. Fix feeder housing animation. Oh yeah, I think I remember one other thing was fix the straw that drops out of the machine. Fix straw drop animation. Man, I may not know how to do some of these. Oh well. Always give it a try. Not sure what that red thing is sitting up in there. Almost looks like a microwave, but I know that ain't it. Oh, wonderful. Our tractor came back, so of course play worked. We really don't have much left on this field here. Maybe I can let them alone. I don't know if that's going to drop it in the... Oh yeah, I guess it will. I have a little bit of straw work to do, kind of in this other field. So I'm going to try to take care of that. And of course, as soon as you leave the scene, the tractor starts kissing the rocks again. And taking more damage. Look at that, 38% damaged just from hugging all the rocks. Or the fence. Yeah. Alright, let's give this a go. I think the chop straw mod is installed on the map, if I'm not mistaken. I just haven't used it really. So if I chop the straw, I don't get to bale it and sell it, so... And as everybody can see, I need every bit of help I can getting some revenue generated. Yeah, this particular field is small enough. I don't think I'll use GPS on it. By the time I take the 2 rounds that I usually take on the outside edge, there's not that much left. It's always interesting learning people's different playing styles, you know, what's interesting to them about the game, what they enjoy doing, you know, whether it's livestock work or arable farming or hay work, grass work, a lot of those kinds of things. I don't know, I've always kind of just liked arable and but even more than that, I know some of my friends when they get on a map, they're they don't really call it home. They'll play for a little bit, maybe even go through a harvest, but they don't. They'll move on quickly to another one. And usually when I get into a map, I'm kind of stuck there for a while. That's why I gotta go review the backstory on this map again. I think there was a story Wes was telling. I just can't remember it off the top of my head, but I know it's in the manual. Gotta figure out what the game plan is. You know, I saw this mod for FS19 the other day. It was never published officially. I think I found it on GitHub. I don't know how I found it. It's a script mod, but it's storytelling, a storytelling mod of some kind. So you can build into gameplay certain objectives that when you reach, you go to a new area of the story, if you will, or something changes. So maybe it's a great demand that happens at a particular point in time when you do something. Maybe it's, you know, initially you inherit a certain bit of land and a certain amount of debt. Maybe there's certain fields that come up for sale at just the right time. Things you're asked to do. And I don't know that it was fully built out. I've never tried it, but it certainly is intriguing. Especially for those that enjoy doing role play. on this particular game. Just building some of that in could really add to that. Sometimes these modders, they make a beautiful mod, but some of these require other modders to kind of buy into the concept and then use it. So like this one here, in order to tell a really good story, you probably have to tie it somehow into your map. And every map, is going to be unique, especially the mod maps. I suppose you could design a story around the stock maps, the ones that came with the game. But it doesn't take long, and a lot of players are off on mod maps, in which case whatever story was set up for the stock map, wouldn't even work or wouldn't apply. So, in other words, it would force the mapper or someone to have enough interest in it that they would want to write their own story and use that mod to kind of create a new one. And not everybody wants to do that. Most people, I think you download a mod and they want it to be plug and play, you throw it in the mods folder and they want it to work and do something for them. There's another modder I'm aware of, Thunder, I believe. In FS19, he carried forward the rock spawning mod with his own spin on it, and I think it was, oh boy, this is pulling quite a hill. But I think he had it to where all kinds of things, if a mapper wanted to, could add other objects and things that could be dug up in the fields. Sticks and as well as rocks and whatnot. But again, it's one of those things that would require a mapper to actually do it, to learn the mod, to figure out kind of how to put it into the map. So not everybody's willing to do that. That takes a ton of extra time, and it really takes a savvy mapper too to want to do that. So all that to say, I think it's sad sometimes there'd be a brilliant idea in a mod, and because it requires other assistance or other people to help with it, it never really blossoms maybe as much as it could. That even happens on maps like this. I can't remember if this was too late in the game. I never felt that it received all the accolades and that kind of thing that it really deserved. But, yeah, that's just life. I don't think Wes ever complained. We are done with the back 40, or whatever this is called. Yep. Get off of the hill and get down to the flatter part here. Yeah, so I commented on playing styles. I don't know, I don't consider myself a really patient person per se, but yeah, I tend to have long saves. I guess in my mind it's, I know I can't farm in real life, so this is where I get to dream about it at least. So I'll sink a lot of time into them, and whereas others kind of churn through it quicker, maybe get bored quicker, I just don't get bored. Anybody watching this is probably sleeping, but I'm really enjoying this. It's a little combine, takes longer to get through it, and there's a bunch of fields to get through, but that's alright. Oh, now it's confused. The hired help around here, I tell you what. Maybe we're just not paying them enough. There we go. At some point, tractor's got to come down over the hill, and I don't know if he's going to do it. We'll find out here, I guess. Will he be able to go around the stones? Just barely. But probably only because the straight line didn't take him through the middle of them. I don't know if he's going to end up having enough to haul another load off. Hopefully. It's kind of in a booger, hauling him out of the field to get my debt to go down. Still hanging at -30. I probably have enough in storage that I could get it to go away. Ah, well, that's just too tight. How about here? Now hold on, Combine. What are you heading into the brush for? That you can tell. See, he's got trees sitting out there that have no base. But I know there's a number of mappers that do that. They'll put trees or other objects kind of on the edge just to disguise the edge for immersion of appeal. Yep, the edge is right there. I can even see water down there. Maybe I'll take this up here and just park it. I don't know when I'm wandering around down here. Combine may not get full enough anyhow. When I get done, I'll send him down to empty while we're moving the machine. Onward and forward. Gets to the end of the field and tell you what, just doesn't go quick enough. See, I'm not patient. Like it's just a little triangle left. One last little bit. Combining under somewhat cloudy skies. That reminds me of another little mod I brought back from FS17. Maybe it's even considered by some to be a cheat. Let me just turn it on here, see if it goes. Control W. Ah, you can't hardly see it. In the upper right-hand corner, it's that silly bar at the top that's kind of hiding it. Ah, that doesn't help me. What it's supposed to do, maybe I just need to change the location of the text, is it's supposed to put up there how long all the way down to the number of seconds, hours, minutes, seconds, that the current weather pattern is going to last. So the orange part means it's sunny. I can't really tell how long it's going to go. That's probably foggy or cloudy coming after it. It tells you what you have now, how long it's going to last, and it tells you what the next weather pattern is going to be. So if rain is predicted, you know exactly how long you have to keep doing like what we're doing right now with combine harvesting and that kind of thing. So you can kind of gauge if you're going to be able to finish the field, whether you can start a new one, or, just do a little bit of planning. And like I say, maybe some see that as a cheat, I don't know. Let me get him going again. I'm just going to send him over the hill. That's right. Don't go through Stonehenge. Looks like they'll miss it. We'll see how he does. I'll get back to the combine. We are going to move you to the next field. Ah, yep, and he's having trouble finding the door. Look at that. Works better if you go in the middle, silly. Let's see if we can just point him in there and get him to go. Please go straight. Well, now, that's not what I suggested. And boy, that feels like a ditch. But maybe we can escape out the bottom here. Yeah. Now, do you know where you're gonna go? There we go. Perfect. Nope, that's hitting the fence. Yeah. Took the collision off there. Down the road we go. Ah, there it is. In the upper right-hand corner, I guess the bar changed a little bit. Looks like we have 1 day, 18 hours, 12 minutes, and 19 seconds. I don't know why the seconds don't appear to be changing. That should all be real time. But maybe I know what it is. It incorporated at a particular point in time, it incorporated it into the bar, so the real time is underneath, which we can't see. That's probably going to land us, oh, here comes a car, land us close to a morning where there'll be fog, and once the fog hits, it'll note the current weather, which will be on the left. That'll be the fog. It'll tell you exactly how long it'll be before you can see decently again. So, I don't know. I kind of just wanted to know. Maybe it isn't entirely realistic, but it helps me plan a little bit. And I think that's real life. Farmers plan, don't they? Yep, that just barely fits in there. Alright, we got 2 fields up here. Both of them wheat again, 41 and 42. I can't remember. This isn't going to fit in the door. Which side has the collisions off? Oh, no, definitely not that side. So we're going to go over here. Well, maybe I didn't take it off on either side. There we go. Just take a run at it, right? This was also formerly a grass field, and I came in and ripped it up with a plow and turned it arable. So we're going to get him going. Why he needs to back up, I have no idea. Sure, drop some straw right there. Oh, yeah, that's a good way to crinkle the tin. I wasn't even watching. That maybe took a little damage. You know what? You are driving so crooked. I'm going to take you off. We need you in a different field anyhow. You need your lights on. Let's just drop the course. I think I saved it. Yep, can't beat a pheasant. Let's get it out of there and get it up the field. I can't remember if I have a course for this one either. These fields are far enough up here, I just haven't built courses just yet. In FS19 and possibly 17, although I never have used it in 17, there was kind of a nice mod added to the mix called Auto Drive. You know, every time you set up a course, it's a very specific course, like in course play here. It only works on a certain path, and you can never use the course, or most of the time you can't reuse it for some other area. Well, auto drive is different. You set up kind of a road network that's all one. So once you set it up and you have it down a road, the mod knows and will seek, you know, with its algorithms or whatever, where to drive a vehicle along the road to certain points. And if it isn't able to link the points up where you need it to go, it'll tell you can't find the path or something. But it's really handy because instead of making separate courses all the time, you know, which requires a lot more driving, you just build the thing once, and then you identify stops kind of along the network pathway, you know, where you want to take stuff. It's pretty cool. I think FS17 maybe had it, but like I say, I never used it there. Yeah, so let me just look here real quick. This is field 41. Nope, all I have is an outline. Huh. Yeah, it's getting filled up. You know what though? It's past 3 a.m. as I look at the clock, so I'm maybe gonna call it a night. I'll just trim it off here, and don't know how many of these I'll make. And whoever watched, thanks for watching. Hope everybody has a good night. Bye-bye.